Hello students, welcome to biotutorials. So, in this video session we will discuss about types of RNA, right. In previous video I hope you have learned about chemical composition of RNA we discussed, and now let me discuss about the types of RNA. So, RNA means here ribonucleic acid, as you know, right. So, RNA is mainly classified whether it is genetic or non-genetic. Based on that, genetic RNA and non-genetic RNA. As you know, the only as a genetic material, the already in previous videos we discussed that DNA is the genetic material, right. DNA is the genetic material because in almost all eukaryotes and prokaryotes also, in prokaryotes and eukaryotes we observe that the genetic material is DNA, right. So, but in case of few viruses, not all viruses, in very few viruses, so they have the genetic material that is made up of RNA, not by DNA, right. So, here let us we see genetic RNA. Let me discuss about the genetic RNA. So, it is present in, it is a genetic material, present in some viruses, right. It is as a genetic material in some viruses. They are called RNA viruses, or also called retroviruses or RNA viruses, right. Yes, here this genetic RNA usually it is a single stranded, single stranded one. So, that is referred as single stranded. Usually RNA is single stranded, sometimes in different non-genetic DNA which may be folds into become loops like structures, that we discuss it later, right. So, the genetic RNA is single stranded, you remember, and this RNA is found in some viruses like retrovirus, what we call. So, you can take the examples like HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. It causes the AIDS. As you know, it causes a disease called AIDS. Usually, it affects to the human beings, right. So, and it is also spreading from one to other. So, that is containing the as a genetic material RNA. RNA is the genetic material in HIV, and it is a human virus, as you know, and even in plants also viruses are there, viral disease will be there. So, that is TMV, one of the example, TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, TMV, that is called tobacco mosaic virus. We call it as tobacco mosaic virus. If this virus is affected to that plant, so that leaves will become curly, mosaic. So, that is why the name is mosaic, tobacco mosaic virus. So, this is also containing the what you call it is a plant virus which causes the disease in tobacco. So, papaya, so many plants are affected by these viruses. So, these are the two examples what I am giving here as a RNA viruses. These are the examples for RNA viruses, and even the present influenza or what we call coronavirus is there, no, COVID-19. So, that is also containing the same genetic material, that is RNA. Okay. So, it usually it mutate faster, and it will change its forms. So, this is what the feature of a RNA virus, right, or a retrovirus, understood. So these are the examples. You remember, genetic material, the RNA may also present as a genetic material. Usually RNA is in case of human beings and other in eukaryotes mainly. So that is performing a protein synthesis, which is performing a protein synthesis. The main function of the this one RNA is protein synthesis, but as in a genetic RNA, it is also carrying information to the next generations. Okay. So this is the genetic RNA. Let us discuss the non-genetic non-genetic RNA, right? Yes, students, before going to start with non-genetic RNA, functions of genetic RNA, the functions. So functions are, so it causes the heredity mainly. So it is involved in the heredity or inheritance, heredity or inheritance, right? Inheritance, and it may also cause the mutations and change its forms also. Okay, and usually in heredity, the genetic material get mutated and it causes the evolution. Okay, evolution of new species. But here the mutation rate is very faster in case of if genetic material is RNA. Hence, they change their forms. The influenza viruses and other these RNA viruses will change its forms and they exist. Okay, as a new species, right? So they originate as a new species, you can say, right? See, the functions when you observe, that is the heredity or inheritance. This means they are carrying information from a parental cell to next next generations, right? Next cells we can consider, because they are very primitive. Even we will not call it as a cells, right? So from their parents to next offsprings, we can say. Just they can and also they are producing in other host cells, right? Because viruses are needful to produce their next generation in the other cells, right? So next they also yes, carries the genetic information from their parents to offsprings, we can say, right? So this is about the functions of genetic RNA, right? So next let me discuss about the non-genetic RNA. There are types. So there are many types are there. So major three types are here. Three types. Let us discuss now those. Non-genetic RNA means it is not involved in the heredity. What I have mentioned here, functions, no, the heredity or mutations which are not involved in that, they are involved in the protein synthesis mainly, which are the non-genetic RNA is involved in mainly protein synthesis, right? So which is involved in protein synthesis. It is a big concept. We will discuss it in the next videos, right? The major see, the major types are here. mRNA. This is also called messenger RNA. Next, tRNA, and next one is rRNA, ribosomal RNA. mRNA is single stranded one, and tRNA, which has a special structure, we will discuss it later, and rRNA. So these are ribosomal RNA. All these three RNA are involved in the protein synthesis. What is that? Protein synthesis. How we will discuss in the next videos, this protein synthesis. That is by central dogma what I gave this in the previous video, right? So these are the types of non-genetic RNA, right? So next about mRNA, that we discuss about the mRNA. See, this mRNA is also called messenger RNA. That's why it is a M. mRNA means messenger RNA. Messenger means what? It is carrying some information from DNA to the site of synthesis of protein, right? So that is ribosomes. Right? Let me see the it's the longest and you can say largest. Okay, either longest or largest RNA. We can refer it as a largest RNA, and which is single stranded, which is single stranded, right? Single stranded, and we can refer it as this is the mRNA. So which has a codes on this one. Okay, so these are the if it is third end, it is the fifth end. In this way, you can refer. So this is what the structure of what you call the messenger RNA, right? So it is get copied by from the actually messenger RNA is copied in the nucleus. So in the nucleus there is a DNA. Okay, here DNA will be there, no? So this is what the DNA. So some portion of the DNA, for example, from here to here, so it will get reopened, and so there is a formation of a new strand. Okay, new strand is formed. So this is what this is exit out, and it is exit from the nucleus also. So this is the nucleus, and this is we can consider it as a cell, right? So here it is copied and it can enter the cytoplasm, right? So that is what the mRNA. So which is helps in protein synthesis. Mainly it carries the information to code the which kind of amino acids. Okay. So that is helps in the protein synthesis. This largest usually largest 5% of RNA. It covers the 5% of total RNA of the cell. 5% of the total RNA of the cell is about mRNA, right? And it carries information from DNA to it carries information from DNA to ribosome. As I explained, the ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. So here the ribosomes are there on the what you call endoplasmic reticulum, right? In the cytoendoskeleton, what we call now. So here ribosomes will be there. So it will copy information as a mRNA, and it will come out and reach this ribosome where protein is synthesized. Okay, so for coding, so this mRNA is must. Okay, mRNA is required for the protein synthesis, right? So it carries information from DNA to ribosomes for protein synthesis, right? So you should remember these points which I have covered here, and try to make the points. Okay, you should by observing while watching video, you should have a notebook with pen. Okay, so you should try to repeat and get a screenshot, or by any way you should make the points. Make a separate notebook and make the points as we covered, right? So, and even you can refer the textbook also, right? So the next video we will start with the next RNA, that is tRNA, right? One of the here we mentioned mRNA, next tRNA, and one more is rRNA. tRNA and rRNA we will discuss in the next video. Thank you, students.